Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel with me, Matthew Morgan. As ever, we are proudly sponsored by the British Shooting Show. The dates have now been released for next year, so do get that in your calendar. We will be there, so come along and see us. Thanks to everybody that's already subscribed to the channel, obviously the people that like the videos. Instantly enough, we do get a lot of people that like the videos or watch the videos that don't subscribe, so if you do enjoy them, do please hit that button because it does help us bring you great content like this and we'd be very appreciative for your support. Right, we have got an absolute belter for you today now. I've recently just returned from the Beretta factory, which is a place I always love to go. Obviously go and see old friends, see what's changed at the factory in terms of the manufacturing process, and particularly the custom stock department, which is what I was there with clients. And they've got a massive homage to the Beretta DT11 following the success of it in last year's Paris Olympics. Loads of stuff on the wall, loads of kind of tongue-in-cheek things about the fact that they won 14 out of the 15 medals on offer. And you don't need telling that I'm a huge fan of this gun. We have done recently the new DT11 Pyramid, which of course was a gun that was built to emulate that success. But today I'm going to bring you the rarest DT11 limited edition. So back in 2021, Beretta decided to launch their first limited edition DT11 model. Now, that was to commemorate 10 years of the production of the gun, which was actually on the drawing board, kind of like 2010, 2011. We didn't get them here in the UK till 2012, but as far as Beretta are concerned, it's 2011. So in 2021, it was their 10th anniversary. So what Beretta did to celebrate 10 years of the DT11 is they launched a very special limited edition model. This was 350 pieces worldwide. Stop there. I know exactly what you're going to say. Go back to the DT11 Gold video, and that was allegedly 400 pieces. We subsequently found out it was 432-inch sporters, 430-inch sporters, a few hundred trap guns. This, however, was literally 350 pieces. So sporting and trap, I never knew of a skeet gun, and in the UK we had barely double figures. I remember selling one. I've probably only ever seen two. So this is the fantastic DT11 anniversary. Like I said, 350 pieces worldwide. We aren't the biggest market in terms of Beretta production. Obviously, the largest market is the States. So we normally get about sort of 10,000 guns a year here in the UK. So like I said, it was only a handful, only the premium Beretta dealers at the time. So to get my hands on one of these is really quite a rare thing. So the gun we're going to look at today is a 32-inch board, and this is number 220 off 350 worldwide. Now, what makes this gun even more exciting, apart from the scarcity of it, is the fact that with this being the first limited edition DT11 that Beretta brought out, they actually pulled out all the stops in terms of making sure you felt special to own one. So we'll start off with the action. Now, when I first saw the drawings of this gun, you know, there was an email sent round to the dealer saying, what do you think of this? It looked like an inside-out DT11L scroll because, of course, you got bits and pieces of scroll where there isn't normally scroll and polished finishes where there was usually scroll. So as you can see, this is a completely different design. We've got none of the Nistan finish, which you would get with the standard DT11 with the blue line. So we've got a brush finish, and then of course this mirror finish with a what looks like crocodile's teeth going around the middle, or waves if you like. Now I quite like that. I think it breaks up the two finishes of the brushed and the highly polished. We've got DT11 here, which is of course what you would expect on any DT11. The only DT11 that hasn't got it physically stamped or engraved on the side, of course by laser, are the premium models like the L and the EELL. This, however, was part of the premium gun range at the time because, of course, ultimately it was a very special gun and not everyone could get one. Interestingly enough, this wasn't the first time Beretta had actually implemented this highly polished mirror finish. They had launched the SL3 a few years prior to this, which of course was a game gun. And in the range of those guns, there was the option for a completely mirror finish one, which covered all the action and all the side plates. So mirror on the side, we turn it around and it's a mirror image. See what I did there? We've got the same crocodile teeth. And if we go onto the bottom of the shoulders, now, if you imagine a standard DT11, this is the part that's polished because it's a very high rubbing, it's a high usage area, gets carried a lot, that kind of stuff. We've actually got the nice deep scroll, not dissimilar to a DT11L scroll, which is a gun we haven't looked at. We have reviewed the game scene, so do check that out. It will be laser done but hand finished. So we've got very heavily engraved 5-axis, I would imagine, because of the different depths of the engraving on the shoulders. Same on the trigger guard, and also, just to finish off while we're here, on the fore-end iron. Famous Beretta logo, DT11, made in Italy, where else? And here it says 220, which is of course the number of the gun, the serial number of the gun, which we'll look at shortly. 10th anniversary limited edition. Not over the top, nice and small, capital letters. Enough of a statement, the fact that it's a very special gun without going over the top and putting, you know, 350 emblazoned across the side. Then of course we've got the famous detachable trigger group, which is DT, detachable trigger. This is completely polished, the whole unit. We've got a polished trigger, and on the side of where the trigger group is located, we've got the engraver's signature, which will be the engraving studio, which of course Beretta would have employed in the production of this style and the design of the engraving. So spin it round, we've got this swirly design on the hinge disc. Of course, with a standard DT11, this would be standard polish, whereas we've got this, like I say, this swirly bit, and this matches the top of the breech. Very nicely done. And something worth pointing out is, you know, I compare this to the DT11L. It's almost like in reverse, like it's an, you know, an inside out pair of pants, because what happens is with all the bits on the DT11L that are usually lightly engraved, they're boldly engraved on this one, and vice versa. So you do get a very contrasting kind of appearance. The only way you could really have a proper look at them, though, would be have both gone side by side. So on the top lever, different engraving pattern again. Very nicely done. Deep scroll. We've got the bolt that's engraved as well, which of course means you can't replace it with a standard DT11 bolt. Not that you're ever going to wear one of these guns out. Top lever, big paddle design. We like that. And on the back strap, we have got a serial number DT, which of course is DT, AN anniversary 220, which is the gun number, which is 220 of 350. And as with all DT11, they tend to have a W on the end. Not sure what that stands for. It's probably something like Wellygog. Although with a gun as successful as this, let's go for Winner instead. Back strap is brushed, the same as the rest of the gun that isn't polished. And there's one thing to bear in mind with that kind of finish is when Beretta put this on guns like 687 EELs and classics and things, they can be a little bit more susceptible to rust and a bit of tarnish. You do have to keep on top of it with an oily rag. Onto the barrels. 32-inch, they were available in 30 as well. Like I said, this is a sporter. Now we have got the absolute creme de la creme in terms of weight for me. We've got 1550 grams on the barrels, 18.6 tapered. Stellium Pro. Now, if you haven't watched all the other DT11 videos, where have you been? The DT11 is, of course, the flagship competition gun. It has the longest forcing cones, and the Stellium Pro term relates to the length of the forcing cones, which is 480 millimeters, which is 120 millimeters longer than 694. The rib, 10 by 8, file cut, same as all DT11 Sporters. If you have a trap gun now, usually 10 by 10 parallel. This, of course, is a tapered rib. It is ventilated. It's got the standard white foresight bead, Optima HP extended chokes with the coloured bands. We've got the Stellium Pro there, which is a nice touch in silver. Going to the back of the barrels, we obviously got the various relevant proof marks. It's nicely engine turned. Like I said, 1550 grams. And as you would expect with a gun that's manufactured in the last 5 years, it's fleur-de-lis high performance steel proof. In addition, also 3-inch chambers. You know, this is a very, very exciting gun, a very desirable gun. It's got enough weight, which we'll talk about shortly, to go out and shoot high pheasants with, as well as being a formidable performer on the competition clay scene. So put it back together. Obviously, we seat the barrels in the bottom of the action, put it back, and you've got that familiar, famous Kirsten bolt locking system, which has made these guns so durable, so hard wearing. Of course, these are the successor to the very, very famous SO series of guns and the ASEs. ASE, interestingly, a gun we haven't looked at yet, haven't managed to find the 101. When I do find one, I will be sure to review it. 8 pounds 10 ounces this gun weighs. Now, I'm not entirely sure if there's any weight at the back end. I don't believe there is. So in terms of balance, it's maybe a little bit barrel heavy. So B-fast weights, of course, all DT11s are B-fast ready. Stick them in the back, 20, 40 grams, you'd be away, and we'd be back over the hinge pin. So moving on to the Ward, DT11s come as standard with a Class 3 stock, Class 2 stock and forend. As this was a very, very special gun, Beretta obviously pulled all the stops out and picked out the best quality wood they could within the remit of the gun, if you like, to put on it. This is absolutely exceptional. Have seen 2 or 3 of these in my life. Not many at all. Like I said, probably 10 or 15 ever made it into the UK. This is by far and away the best one I've seen. European walnut. Lovely figurine. You've got these kind of yellow and orange honey glows at the top. Sounds like a Lemsip advert with the black streaks. Everyone that watches the channel know I really am a fan of light wood with dark streaks, because I feel that contrast just gives you that wow factor. Nice and dark across the top. Again, nice and strong through the grip. We've got the micro-core recoil pad, which is standard Beretta gear. We can make it longer, shorter, do what we want, put a spacer in. We've got the standard palm swell, which is not as big and as aggressive as the early DT11s. It's more like a DT10. I have said this before, just feels very, very nice in the hand, very comfortable. We've got the standard DT11 checker in. I would have liked to have seen maybe some double point, but as this is obviously a machine-made stock, not a custom stock, that's why it comes with the standard checkering design. Diamond on the top, which I think is a really, really nice touch. I love that about the DT11. And onto the fore end, we have got this round design. Remember, there's 3 options for these guns. We can have a beaver tail, we can have a schnabel, or we can have a round. All the guns I've seen in the DT11 anniversary line in my life have all been with a round fore end. Fore end catch is engraved the same as the iron, but we've also got a non-engraved bit around it. So again, it just gives more of the contrast and the whole line of the gun, with it being this completely engraved and completely non-engraved running through the gun. Just in terms of the stock dimensions, we have got standard 35-55 stock dimensions. Won't be high enough for a lot of people. Of course, if you wanted to, you have an adjustable comb conversion fitted. Watch our adjustable comb video, there's a lot of information in there. Or failing that, we can take you to Italy and you can have a brand new stock made for this gun. Obviously, because this is kind of derived from a competition gun, you don't get things like ovals and teardrops on the stock, on the wood, but they can, of course, be retrospectively fitted by anybody that wants one. Another exciting thing about this gun, obviously when we looked at the DT11 Gold and the DT11 Pyramid, they shared the same case design, which was that gaudy bright thing you needed your Ray-Bans on for. Before we got to that point, remember this is the first DT11 limited edition they ever manufactured. This is 2021. They had much nicer and much more subtle ideas, and they came up with this. So we've got a leather clad, sounds like an advert for Doc Martens, grey, which again is interesting because we tend to have the kind of the black or the silver cases normally with the DT11 range of guns. Really, really nicely done. DT11 limited edition, nice and soft. Obviously underneath it's the standard case with all the big Trident logos. It's made by Negrini, as they all are. Made in Italy, of course, embossed in the leather. Now the actual catches themselves are gold, which I think is a nice touch. It's piped all the way around. Obviously it's airline approved. I would imagine if you took this on an airline and brought it back, it would come back like a squashed Chinese foil carton. So we open it up, and again, very nice in terms of presentation. So we've got 10th anniversary DT11. We've got your ubiquitous barrel socks. We've obviously got the B-Fast weights, spare firing pins, spare springs, Optima HP chokes, the all-important Oilio. But more importantly, when a lot of manufacturers launch a limited edition model, we can look at the MK38 competition, we can look at, there was a 525 EWA special, that kind of stuff. They don't tend to really put anything with the gun that sets it apart and makes people think, wow, this is a limited edition, this is something I want to cherish, this is something I want to keep forever. Only this week, there was a gentleman who has got a Browning Maxus Gold, which is a semi-auto manufactured in Portugal, with an absolutely incredible piece of wood on, which apparently is a limited edition, although sadly, there's nothing to back that up in terms of paperwork from the manufacturer. However, with this bad boy, we have actually got inside a very special certificate. Okay, we continue the gold and grey theme, limited edition, and inside, like a pop-up book, there's a certificate. How nice is that? So we've got the fact that it's serial number DTAN220W, remember W stands for Welligogs, 220 of 350, what it's about, and it's all about the fact that it's celebrating the victories and the success of this gun, and it's signed by the main man at Beretta, got the PB logo, that kind of stuff in there, which I think is a really, really nice touch and something not enough manufacturers pay enough attention to. All the other bumps you get in, the ski vest badge, all the little bits and pieces, that's different. We've got real Italian leather, nice little bit for the originality of the case from Mr. Negrini himself. Everything else, snap caps, etc., the pajamas, it's all standard. But I think the little touches, like the fact that the serial number is different, it's got the number of the gun underneath, it says 10th anniversary, we've got a different case, we've got the certificate. I just think it's a really, really nice package. I wanted to show it to you, and if you're a biggest fan as a DT11 as I am, you will no doubt be impressed by this particular shotgun. So that has been the very first limited edition DT11 from me, Matthew Morgan, at Eastfield Gunroom. If you've got any questions about this particular gun, please do contact me directly. Don't forget to check out the website. If you have enjoyed this video and you think, oh, he's all right, I'll watch him again, then hit like, hit subscribe, and you can even hit the notification button, and then you will know when we're on the screen next time. Feel free to comment below. It'd be interesting to know what your thoughts are. Are you a DT11 owner? Do you prefer the blue? Do you like the polish? Feel free to let us know, and we'll get into a conversation about DT11, one of my favourite subjects. That's it. That's your lot. I'll see you next week.